All aboard for Money School, let's go! Woo! Man, it has been a long time since I have been on a public school bus. But I have to tell you the reason why. It's because there was an important part of your financial education that got left behind in the dust. It's everything that you should have learned about money and finance and building wealth. So you know what? Today we're going back to school. We're going back to Money School 101. And we're gonna start by actually helping you understand the 5 worst investments that society says that you should be making, but you actually shouldn't.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Check it out. Those people are going to real school to learn a lot of real nothing. You here on the Money Bus School, where I'm going to teach you some of life's most important lessons.
And another comes on, and another comes on, another one rides the bus. Hey, let's go sit by you, another one rides the bus. Take it.
All right, check it out. So listen, school is in session. Today we're going to be talking about 5 investments that society says that you should be making with your money. And we're going to evaluate all 5 of them. And I'm going to share with you why I don't agree with any of them, except for maybe one of them. More importantly, I'm going to give you the tips and tricks of the things that you should be investing in that people aren't talking about. And yet this is what all wealthy people have in common. You know, this book I wrote, Have It All, it's really a culmination of the last 2 decades of my life. Everything that I've learned from interviewing millionaires, billionaires, some of the most successful people. And I want to tell you that successful people, they don't invest in these 5 things that we're going to talk about, but just about everybody else is. So I'm calling them the 5 worst investment vehicles. And you're maybe asking yourself, Kris, what is an investment vehicle? Well, it really just means a type of strategy where you put your money in hopes that it'll turn into something good. And trust me, society has 5 things that they're telling everyone that they should do with their money. But today we're going to do the math. And we're going to fast forward and say, great, let's say that you take society's advice for 30 or 40 years. Where will you actually end up? And I have all those facts, I have all those figures, and based on that data, I think you're going to arrive at a conclusion of how you feel about those 5 investments. And what it should do is get you open to saying, wait a second, if those are the 5 investments that don't make sense, then what are the 5 investments that do? Now, today, I'm not going to call these investment strategies, I'm going to call them investment vehicles. And the reason why is because vehicles are what we use to transport ourselves places. It's how we get from point A to point B.
I presume a crisp high 5.
For you, 10.
What if I told you right now that you had to be in a hurry in California to get to New York? Would you take a horse and buggy? Would you take a 50-mile-an-hour motorcycle? Would you take a bus? Would you take a private jet? I mean, the truth is, some vehicles go faster than others. Some are more direct than others. And so this is really more about an analogy. Vehicles that are slow and vehicles that are really fast. The first vehicle that I want you to be aware of is called the 401k. I refer to it as a front-end loader. That's one of these big, very slow tractor-like devices. And this is where you basically keep a portion of your salary in a slowly growing bucket of future money. That's really what a 401k is. I dedicate some money, my employer dedicates some money, and it feels a little bit like free money. That's why everyone's so excited about the 401k. But whether that sounds exciting or not, you have to ask, what is the ultimate destiny of the 401k? Will saving that money actually get me where I want to go? Let's get clear on a couple of things. First of all, the 30-year average on a 401k ROI is 5%. That means that every year it grows 5%. That means if you put $20 in, then it increases $1 that year. Now, I don't know where you're coming from. That might sound kind of exciting, but the real problem is that it takes 14.4 years to double your money. If you're planning on working 30 years, guess what? Your money's going to double only this many times. Now, the source of the ROI, the 401k, it's coming right out of the stock market. So if you are considering putting money in a 401k, if you are putting money in a 401k, you should ask, what is the ultimate destiny of the 401k? Let me tell you. The average 401k balance for Americans in their 60s is $93,400. Pause. Can you retire on $93,000? Did you know that the average man at the age of 54 will hit his peak earnings at $85,000 a year? Well, what is 93,000 to that? That's literally just a little bit more than you'll make at the height of your earning career. In other words, you could probably spend this in just 1 or 2 years, and then a lifetime of savings for your 401k, poof, it's gone.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. It's gone.
Well, the real truth is that half of those people with 401ks struggle to maintain their standard of living in retirement. In other words, wait a second, $93,000 might sound like a lot when you're 15 years old, or maybe when you're like 20 years old, or maybe fresh out of college, but trust me, a time's gonna come when you realize that even $100,000 a year, well, that's enough money to live in a nice house, drive some nice cars, but you're gonna be retired with today's modern medicine for a really long time, maybe 30 or 40 years. And the question is $93,000 really gonna be enough? Chances are you're gonna have to lower your standard of living. And so the nice lifestyle you were used to during your working years, you're gonna have to lower it substantially, hoping that you run out of life before you run out of money. The second investment vehicle that society recommends usually comes from a CPA. This is the person that does your taxes at the end of the year, and basically their job is to try to get to you to save some money. And so when they feel like you might be paying just a little bit too much in taxes, they want you to take some of that hard-earned savings for the year and put it in a different type of investment. It's called an IRA. And I'm gonna liken this vehicle to a bicycle. Meaning if you were in Pasadena, California, trying to go to New York, can you imagine how slow it would be trying to take a cruiser all that way? Not very efficient, because in the end, guess what? This IRA, on average over 30 years, is only gonna earn a 7% ROI. It won't take 14 years to double like a 401k, but it does take 12. So in a working life, you might be able to double your money maybe 3 times. And again, it's leveraging a version of the stock market. I call it a bicycle because it allows you to carry a cute little basket of pre-tax dollars into your future. And in the end, it's not very exciting, because here are the facts. An IRA is great for 2 things: a single-digit ROI and a guarantee that you won't have enough money to retire comfortably. Does that sound a little bit harsh? Here's the way I look at the math. If you know up front that investing in a low ROI vehicle that is super safe is guaranteed to not be anywhere near enough money for retirement, then how could you classify that as anything other than broken? And if it's broken, why would you participate in the first place? I'm not, and I never will. The third investment vehicle that society loves to push on us, especially financial planners, is what is called an annuity. And I'm gonna refer to this as the ice cream truck, because it doles out regular payments to you either now or in the future. Now, basically an IRA is a way of saying, listen, I've worked hard and I've got this specific sum of money, and I just want to put it in the stock market, and I want to get a guarantee that there will be some money that comes back to me every year in the form of a dividend. How much can the market really promise you on a guarantee? Well, the average annuity, 3.27%. In other words, it would take 24 years to double your money. 24, that's almost a full working life for some people. And again, it is a variation of the stock market. Now, if 7% wasn't that exciting and 5% with a 401k certainly really wasn't exciting, can you imagine how exciting 3% is gonna feel?
Now how does that feel, huh?
This is where financial planners come in. They basically say, got it. You've worked your whole life. You've put money in a 401k. You've put money in an IRA. How much do you have? Let me annuitize it, and let me give you a guaranteed payment every year for the rest of your life. Well, the average person in their 60s has $172,000. And did you know that if you were to take that $172,000 of all your 401ks and IRAs and say, here you go, financial planner, give me a dividend based on 3.27%, you would get $468 every single month for the rest of your life. $468, that is not a house payment. That's not a mortgage. That would cover a tiny hole in the ground for rent. That might not even be a car payment. But that is the reality of what most people do at retirement. It's why they run out of money, and an annuity is not going to build the future that you want. Okay, Kris, this video is starting to feel super depressing. Check it out. I've got 2 more vehicles to share with you, but before I do, what do people do then when they really run out of money at retirement? They're basically relying on the government, they're relying on charity, or they're going back to work. They might get a job at Walmart. Not to make fun of anyone that works at Walmart, but you got to find a company that still sees value in older people that are way past their prime and literally have lost some of their marketability. And I don't know about you, but spending, a decade or two working at a job like that, and maybe it's something that you love doing, but most people get desperate, and desperate times call for desperate measures. Okay, Kris, I think I got it figured out. The S&P 500, society's fourth investment vehicle. Tell me why you don't like that, because come on, dude. The top 500 companies in America on the New York Stock Exchange are represented with a blended ROI. If they are 500 of the most successful companies, Apple, Tesla, etc., then surely that's got to be a smart investment, right? I refer to the S&P 500 as the tractor. Slowly tracks the stocks of the largest US publicly traded companies. By the way, companies that already boomed, they already went up. Now they're stabilizing, right? And as safe as they are, the 30-year average on the top 500 companies blended produces 7.96%, barely 8%. And guess what? That means that your money doubles every 9 years. So in a 30 to 40-year working life, you might double your money 4 times. But at the end of the day, guess what? It's just another derivative of the stock market. Have you ever heard this adage that you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket and that you should diversify? Can you tell me how society's stock market annuities and stock market IRAs and stock market 401ks and stock market S&Ps are any type of diversification? Because I got news for you. They're not. At the end of the day, here's what you should know. If you're putting your money in 401ks, IRAs, annuities, this S&P 500, they're really all variations of the stock market and they're all earning single-digit ROI. So you blend it out and you're like, well, I'm getting 5% here and I'm getting 8% here and I'm getting 7% here. I'm probably averaging 6.5%. Great. You can do the math. There are future value calculators and you can say, okay, if I pop some money into the market and blended a 6.5% return and I do that for 30, 40 years, how much money will I have? The number is going to be disappointing. But there's hope, because this last of society's recommendations isn't half bad if you know how to apply it the right way. It's not rooted in the stock market. Any guesses what it is? It is equity in a home. As in, you bought a home and guess what that home does with time? It appreciates. It goes up on average in value. And yet I'm still gonna call it the antique car, because the net value of your home that everyone prizes above all else, unfortunately, is like the cherry on top. It's the best of the best, the creme de la creme, but really is it all that great? Not if you only buy one of them. Check this out. Yearly, your average home appreciates 5%. Now, this is not the same as 5% in the stock market. You see, with 50 grand, for example, I can buy $50,000 worth of stocks, and if they go up 5%, I'm gonna get a return. In real estate, I can take $50,000 and buy $250,000 worth of real estate, and the 5% increase is not on my $50,000. It's on the full $250,000 value, which makes this the best of all investments. In fact, most people will say in retirement, man, my house was the best investment I ever made. I put all of my effort into 401ks and IRAs and stock market, and yet the equity in my home did more for me than all of those things combined. So it leaves you with one regret. Why didn't I buy more? Part of you attending money school with me is not just understanding what doesn't work, but what actually does work. Buying a home will end up being your best asset, and your regret will be, I wish I had bought more. In fact, can you imagine if your home went up over time, $200,000 in value? In today's market, that is not inconceivable. It's actually happening quite rapidly. So you begin to think, man, if I bought a house and it went up $200,000 in value, then what would happen if I bought 4 more? And they each went up 200,000 in value. Let's do the math. 200 grand, 400 grand, 600, 800, $1 million. Well, shoot, who knew that buying just 5 properties, renting out the other 4, getting huge tax write-offs, and increasing my passive income would be such a smart investment. This is why by the age of 26, I bought 25 of them. I had a 6-figure residual income, and I wasn't paying anything in taxes because of all the tax write-offs. And yet real estate is just one of 5 investments that I absolutely recommend that you consider. But first, let's summarize. We've talked about the 401k market, the IRA market. We talked about the S&P 500, home equity, the ice cream truck. And you know what's the problem with all these vehicles? They're all single-digit ROI. You might think, oh, Kris, why are you so out for the 401k or the IRA, or why are you trying to get them in so much trouble? It's because the majority of you will put the majority of your money in these things. And you should only have a small percentage of your entire retirement sitting in a single-digit ROI. What it's gonna do is it's gonna put you into a tunnel. Don't get stuck in the tunnel. These safe investments will end up being the riskiest choices that you could ever make. Bucking the system and seeking higher ROI is what made me financially free within a matter of years instead of decades, and it can 100% absolutely do the same thing for you. Because there's a lot of people that look at what I do and they're like, oh, Kris, man, that is so risky. Look at how much money you're making. Wouldn't it be safer if you just earned less money? I'm like, yeah. But you're gonna wake up someday and say, shoot, I lost my real asset, which was never money, it was time. And the only way to put time on your side is to get a higher ROI. Well, speaking of wealth vehicles, I did spend the time sharing with you society's 5 worst investments. Turns out that there are 5 amazing investments, and guess what? I'm giving them to you today for free in my brand new book, Have It All. As in, there's a link below. Cover the shipping and handling. I will send the book out. Out of the 5 books I've written, this is my masterpiece book. There's no other book on the planet that shares the message of how you build wealth in less than 5 years. And I'm just going to give you a taste of it right now. Did you know that I do have one investment vehicle that I call an armored truck? It's slow and safe because it produces a single-digit ROI. It's where I stash cash until I can dump it into my sports car. This is my double-digit ROI where I'm earning 25 to 50% every year on my money. Now my money is doubling in like 2 to 3 years instead of like 10 to 15 years. From there, I'll also put money into my race car. This is my triple-digit ROI. Now I'm literally doubling my money in months instead of years. I'll put some of my money in my Formula One race car that does quadruple-digit ROI, where I'm doubling my money in a matter of days, not months, certainly not years. And lastly, I put some of my money into a private jet, infinite ROI, by far my favorite way to travel and the fastest way to get wherever it is that you're going. Now, society's not going to teach you these 5, but I will. But I make a promise. Your financial planner is going to hate this book. Your CPA is going to hate this book. People that are teaching about 401ks and IRAs, they're going to hate this book. But you know what? I'm not going to share emotional sentiment. I'm simply going to share facts and data, and I'm going to show you the other facts of life, not just for making babies. These are the facts of life that are going to have your money making babies so that your money's making money, and now you produce generational wealth. Check it out. This is the book, Have It All. This is where I've poured my life work. I rewrote the book several times. This is the book that will give you the shortest and most complete roadmap to getting wherever it is you want to go. Now, listen, I get my books in huge batches, and then sometimes I run out because I'm just giving them away for free. I can't guarantee that there's a book available for you unless you click the link below. And if it allows you to finish the checkout process, then I'm promising you a book on its way. And if all I ever do with you is share the information in that book, I promise you that even implementing 2 of the 5 strategies, even if you're starting literally behind in debt, even with bad credit, just follow 2 of the 5 principles and you could literally see yourself becoming very, very wealthy. If you want to do it faster, you're going to have to follow 3, 4, or 5 of the principles. So get your copy if it's available. Link is below. Hey, thank you so much for joining me on today's journey. Listen, there are 5 investments that you should make that will get you wealthy, and one of them is real estate investing. And if you don't really understand what that means, I've created the ultimate guide to how you get started in real estate and how you build wealth with it. Check out this video right here and let me show you how it works right now. Your mom goes to school. Today you're going to school. Money School with Kris Krohn. Does this bring back memories for you? Let me try it again. It has been more than a few years since